Okay, let's dive right in. We're looking at a story that's playing out across an entire continent, a new scramble for Africa. But this time around, it's not about claiming territory. It's about the minerals that power our entire modern world and how that hunger for resources is igniting violent conflict. It all kicks off with a really specific and honestly a pretty confusing question. Why on earth would a wealthy nation like the United Arab Emirates be supporting a brutal militia, the RSF, in the middle of Sudan's horrible civil war? I mean, on the surface, it makes zero geopolitical sense. So what's the real game here? Well, the key to this whole puzzle, it's not in some secret memo or a political speech. Nope. To really get what's going on, you have to look down. Literally. The real prize, the true motivation, is buried deep in the earth. And that brings us right to our first crucial piece of the puzzle, the connection between the war in Sudan and the UAE's grand plan to dominate the global gold market. Okay, get this. The scale of this operation is just staggering. A whopping 90% of all the gold that's officially exported from Sudan ends up in one place, the UAE. And here's the kicker. That's just the official number. It doesn't even begin to cover the massive amounts that are smuggled out through back channels. So who's controlling this fire hose of gold? That would be the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. This is an incredibly powerful militia, and they've basically seized control over many of Sudan's most profitable gold mines. So by backing them, the UAE isn't just picking a side in a war, it's securing a direct pipeline of wealth. It's all part of a bigger play to make Dubai the #1 gold trading hub on the planet. And this is where the logic gets really, really cold. You know, as one person on Reddit pointed out, the goal for these outside powers might not even be for their side to win. Think about it. A stable, legitimate government, they'd negotiate better deals. But a country stuck in endless conflict, well, that keeps the militias desperate and willing to sell off their country's natural resources for pennies on the dollar. It turns out, instability is very, very profitable. But look, the UAE's play for Sudan's gold is just one chapter in a much, much bigger story. What we're seeing is a new, continent-wide scramble for Africa's mineral wealth. And in that game, there is one player that is miles ahead of everyone else, China. And right here, you can see the huge difference in scale and strategy. While the UAE is laser-focused on gold to supercharge its financial markets, China's plan is way more ambitious. It's a systematic, all-out campaign across the entire continent to lock down the supply of nearly every critical mineral essential for our modern economy. We're talking everything from the cobalt in your phone to the lithium in electric cars. And check this out. It's not just about digging minerals out of the ground. The real choke point is in the processing. China has strategically maneuvered itself to control over 85% of the world's refining capacity for rare earth minerals. So what does that mean? It means that even if a country in Africa or the West mines the raw materials, they most likely still have to send them to China to be turned into anything useful. It's a massive strategic chokehold on the global supply chain. So how did they pull this off? A key tool in their playbook has been the resource-backed loan. Now, the deal sounds simple enough. China builds you some much-needed infrastructure, roads, dams, ports, and in return, the African nation pays them back. But the problem is, these deals are incredibly secretive. It's like taking out a huge loan for a highway, but instead of cash, your interest payments are exclusive rights to your country's most valuable mines, maybe forever. It can quickly become a debt trap, signing away a nation's future for generations. But this scramble for resources isn't just some abstract story about geopolitics and economics. It has a devastating and often completely hidden human cost that's paid by the most vulnerable people on the planet. 40,000. That's the estimated number of children working in the mines of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Many of them are digging for cobalt, the very mineral that powers the rechargeable batteries in our phones, our laptops, and our electric vehicles. And this isn't just a statistic. During a U.S. congressional hearing, human rights advocate Sasha Lezhnev shared his firsthand account, and he put it in the starkiest terms possible. He talked about witnessing with his own eyes children as young as 8 years old toiling in horrific conditions, a direct link in the supply chain that ends with the phone in your pocket. The awareness of this resource curse is deeply embedded in the local culture. An investigator named Thierry Dangala shared this incredibly powerful story from his own wedding in the Congo. The pastor, seeing their gold wedding bands, felt he had to stop and say a prayer of sanctification, a prayer to cleanse the rings from the trail of sin and suffering that so often follows these precious minerals right from the mine. So why does this happen? How can this level of exploitation continue in the 21st century? Well, the answer lies in this complex web of complicity, where corruption, weak governance, and corporate indifference create the perfect environment for abuse to thrive. I mean, just look at these examples. It's almost absurd. A mining company in Zimbabwe pollutes a major community dam, devastating the local water supply. The fine? A mere $5,000. Another company in Zambia contaminates a river. The penalty? $10,000. These aren't deterrents, they're rounding errors. It's just a tiny cost of doing business when the profits are this immense. It's a systemic problem. You've got weak governments and corrupt officials who are happy to look the other way for a cut. You have powerful companies that engage in what's called regulatory capture. That's when they basically use their money and influence to write the rules in their own favor. Add in a complete lack of transparency, and you have a recipe for disaster. But the story doesn't end there. There's a growing international push to inject some real accountability into this system and fundamentally change the way business is done. The fight back centers on a three-part strategy. First, you hit them where it hurts with targeted sanctions, like the ones the U.S. placed on that UAE gold refiner for its links to the conflict in Sudan. Second, you drag the deals out of the shadows with a relentless push for transparency. And third, and this might be the most important part, you have to offer a better deal, providing high-standard, non-predatory investment that gives African nations a real choice. And it's so crucial to understand that this isn't a story of outsiders just saving the day. The real push for accountability is being led from the ground up by African civil society organizations, like the Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. They are on the front lines, demanding stronger laws and responsible investment that actually benefits their own communities. Ultimately, as U.S. Representative Sarah Jacobs argued, there's no single magic bullet here. Tackling a problem this complex requires a comprehensive approach, using every tool available, diplomatic, financial, and legal, to create real and lasting change. So as we all upgrade our phones and move toward a green energy future, all of it built on these very minerals, we have to ask ourselves, knowing the trail of sin and suffering that can follow them, what is our role and what is our responsibility in breaking that chain?